Hey, Zach, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Kirk?
Doing great, doing great. We're here with Zech Scheiding, excellent world-class massage therapist. As you can see in the background, he's worked on professional athletes, some Cincinnati Bengals jerseys I see there in the background, and also football club Cincinnati as well. Welcome to the show, Zech. Welcome to the show. Yes, okay, Adidas as well, right?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kirk.
Yes, nice.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So Zach has spent 5, going on 6 seasons with the Bengals. He's worked with UFC fighters, Cincinnati Reds, baseball team, the PGA Tour, WBC Champs, Ohio State, several other universities. He's a licensed massage therapist with lots of training around myofascial training, functional assessment and Celtic treatment with rehab, cupping, stretching, Graston technique, and active release techniques. We're going to talk about some of these things as we get along in the show. So, Zach, big picture, right? What's the difference between what most people think of a massage, gentle Swedish massage versus what you do, deep tissue manual manipulation?
Right, mouthful.
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of times that's kind of like the biggest question I get is what's the difference between what you do and what a massage therapist at your local spa kind of does. Typically, you think of massage, you kind of think of nice, relaxing, dark room with some hot oil or some good lotion or whatever.
Right.
All over, but it's pretty relaxing the entire time. What I do is there's no music, there's no nice soft sounds. It's straight getting into the work, getting into the tissue. So a lot of people don't understand is there's kind of like a method to the madness. I'm not kind of just going through the areas to make them feel nice. I'm finding specific injuries. I'm finding the surrounding areas that are involved within that injury, and I'm kind of focusing in on those. So that's more of a direct and kind of mapped out plan for the body as opposed to just rubbing and feeling around, which is still good, and there's still a place for that type of treatment. But from what I do for athletes, they need more deeper work that's going to be working out the muscles and the tissue.
First time I met you, just like any high-level therapist, it's always amazing to me how you can tell things that are wrong with me before I even say anything, or you point out things that are wrong with me that I'm unaware of. That's really the mark of a high-quality massage therapist versus you go to a regular therapist and you're either just touching you all over or you're telling, oh, my back or my this. But you can tell things like, oh, you sleep on this side on the bed. Are you having headache? I remember like my upper ear was super tight. I was having these one-off headaches. You worked on that. I didn't know that, or help with the obvious one, recovering from injury, or helping you train while injured, because you work with pro athletes, so they have to perform, right? So during the season,
yes,
and you're helping them to play around an injury, let's say. And then, at the end of the season, it comes out in the news that so-and-so, they had a this problem or a that problem. For regular weekend warriors like myself or anybody that's working out, what that means is if you tweak something, maybe you're a lady and you reach into the back seat to adjust the car seat or grab your purse and you strain something. Zach can that so you can keep working out, right? Simple little things like that. And if you think about if you can work out, what does that mean? You're not missing days at the gym. You're not in pain going to the gym beyond muscle pain, where you're not held back, let's say, by your body. The mind is willing, but the body is not willing.
Right. Yeah, sometimes your body, when you're rendered in the massage aspect, let's say, and you can't get to the gym because you're too sore, your legs are too sore, and you're fatiguing in that sense. If you don't take care of that problem, you can't get to the gym. If you can't get to the gym, you can't lose the weight. So sometimes adding in that kind of therapy and that treatment is going to keep you moving forward, keep you in the gym, keep you healthy. And that's where it becomes important for our day-to-day life people, not just professional athletes as well.
Yes. And it's not only in the gym. I remember helping with my knee, just had an issue with the right knee. I don't remember exactly what you did. I think one time you even adjusted my psoas muscle, which for those of you that know, you kind of get to it from your lower abdomen area, which is counterintuitive. You touch my lower ab to help my knee pain go away.
Yeah, that's the way the body works. Everything, unfortunately, is all connected. So sometimes something all the way up in your abdomen is rendering something in your leg, and if you don't have the proper person to go to, you're not going to get that direct care. You're just going to kind of get a massage over the thigh. When you get to kind of somebody more like myself, we're going to know, well, maybe that psoas is tight. You get in there, find it's tight, release it, you get problems gone, you can continue to be in the gym.
Exactly. Because tight muscles don't work as well. And there's something I like to say. Most people don't realize how bad they feel till they feel good. I distinctly remember the first time I got a really good massage. When I got off the bed, I literally felt like I had a brand new body. I remember being experimentally moving my hands around You just don't realize all these issues till they go away. And then you go to the gym and, you perform so much better. Every time you worked on me, I was like, wow, there's a direct correlation. That's what I think a lot of people don't get is they think, massage, But when you get one of these, a person like yourself working on you, because the way I look at try to explain to people is that, think about this. Imagine you were playing, say, basketball or some other sport, and you could get a professional coach to coach you, right? Would you need to take that? So somebody like yourself who's working on a multi-million-dollar athlete, you can get access to such a person. Clearly, they must know what they're doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to touch the multi-million-dollar athlete. That's the way I try to explain it to them, right? You're getting access to such a high-level professional, where in most professions, you can't get access to somebody like you, is what I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah, a lot of times it becomes kind of almost exclusive. And sometimes there's people out there like me that still work on your day-to-day people, but you have to know where to find them. You got to look in the right places, and you got to, if it's a person like myself who's working with a ton of pro athletes, you kind of have that resume where you can trust that person, that they're knowing what they're doing. If multi-million-dollar athletes can trust you with their bodies.
It sells itself, basically. That's the way I look at it, right? Because a weekend warrior or just a regular person, they go to a doctor or a massage therapist and they feel better, but they don't have black and white objective metrics. If you work on somebody and they run slower or jump less high or weaker, either they or their coach will be like, what are you doing? So the fact that doesn't happen means you know what you're doing. The first time I had a massage, I remember it was from like at a massage school. And in hindsight, I realized they were hurting me. I didn't realize this at the time, right?
Yeah.
Or even when I got muscles, I remember a massage therapist explained to me that if people don't know what they're doing, they will be what they think are nuts or not nuts. They're just your muscles. And thankfully, I never ran into such a person, but I've heard horror stories of such people, right?
Oh yeah, they're out there.
Yes, they're out there. Can you give us some examples? Because I know stories, people understand stories, right? Whether it's a pro athlete, you don't have to give names, or a regular person, just something people can relate to that. Hey, I helped this guy who, I don't know, plays basketball or plays football or what have you.
So I can start with one guy I'm thinking of in particular. He's a desk warrior. He sits at the desk quite frequently, but he's also a high-level climber. He likes to climb rocks and different things. He was climbing one day and he kind of reached up and he felt something in his pec essentially, and it ended up being like a small tear, and he was looking at, I forget, I think it was like 6 weeks or something till he could fully recover. They're like, you're going to lose a lot of range of motion, you can never rock climb again. So it was something that he had, obviously he's loved to do. It kept him healthy, he was fit, active. He came in and asked me, what can I do? Have I ever seen anything like this? And of course I've seen multiple things like it. And so what we did was we worked on like his fascial tissue, and we worked into the deeper muscles and things like that. And starting that tissue work, I think it was like a week afterward, we were able to kind of slowly get in there, not do a ton of work, just kind of slowly get the tissue related. And as he kind of recovered and he strengthened it, I could get in deeper and deeper. And he went back to the doctor and he told him he was like 400% recovery time faster than what he was previously looking at with other people. Within like 3.5, 4 weeks, he was in more range of motion than what most people are when they're finished with their entire recovery process. And it wasn't like I was doing deep work. I wasn't doing something crazy and special. I was just being very specific with the tissues, with the needs that he needed, the surrounding areas that he needed, and unlocking all those was able to get his pec recovering at a faster time. And it was also able to get him, back to what he wanted to do and love faster. Adding that into the regimen, he referred that doctor, told him about me, and then now that doctor sends people to me quite frequently for the same issue, for people who are kind of more apt to recover faster. That's one prime example of somebody who's been injured here in the recent times with me that's been able to get back relatively quick from an injury he didn't think was going to be able to happen.
No, that's a great story, because correct me if I'm wrong, something like that, if they don't meet somebody like yourself, could become chronic or debilitating, could maybe affect them later, like just working there here, lifting up a team,
Yeah, and a lot of times that's kind of what ends up happening is some people, they it's a small tear. It wasn't nothing crazy, but you got a little tear, and then they'll go home and they'll sit, or they'll put their arm in a sling and they'll be stuck like this for however many weeks the doctor says. Well, then you have a hard time getting all this range to put your arm up and move it around. And so even though that guy, he came to me and asked me, I told him, don't really use a sling unless it's really hurting you, and then what you're able to do is slowly get into that tissue. He was able to get in and open more and more, work on the surrounding muscles, to his armpit, on the backside of his shoulder. That was able to help him activate those muscles, use them more. And then that also builds trust around where the injury muscle is, that you can kind of bring and open into that range of motion. So it's all just about encouraging the tissues, loosening it up, And as he exercised and worked out, he got better and better and only progressed. He never regressed. And now he's doing great.
That's a great story. That deserves the reggae air horn. You probably hear that at some of the football games, right? The soccer games.
Yeah. I hear it quite frequently.
Yeah. Nice. Cord says, I find that doing all around good exercises, running, biking, and lifting puts stress on all muscle groups. What are the best stretches or recovery routines on a recurring basis? That's a great question.
It is a good question. My answer is going to be not even really a stretch or necessarily like a routine. Now, it's good if you have specific issues, say if you have tight hamstrings and calf. It's good to stretch those things, maybe roll them out on a foam roller and things like that.
Okay.
But one of the bigger things that I get onto people about, especially when they have upper back issues and neck issues and stuff like that, is waking up in the morning and essentially stretching immediately when you wake up. So when we're young children, you wake up and you kind of see the kid automatically stretch right off the bat.
Yeah.
You wake up and there's a cat. And a cat will stretch, or a dog will stretch. It's the first instinct of an animal to stretch immediately.
Right.
As adults, we typically wake up right off to the room, and we go shower, and we get ready, and we go to work. And a lot of times when you do that, there's a lot of restricted tissue that happens. You're sleeping in a bed for 8 hours overnight. Everything's getting tight, and then you straighten your body up and try to get going for the day. So a good thing to do is to just get in the bed. I tell people stretch, roll their arms all the way in, roll them out, pull them up, do crazy stuff that you don't normally do, just to get your body's range of motion opened up, because we don't move like robots, but we a lot of times stretch like robots. We go down and touch our toes and we come back up. If you're a pro athlete, never in a game are you running and go down and touch your toes. It's not what we typically do. So we end up putting ourselves in sometimes stretches and different routines where you're almost limiting yourself. So it's good to move all around and do all these different things, and that's going to open up different ranges of motion. So then if there's a specific issue, say you've got tight hamstrings, I find that doing like aerobic exercises, so maybe doing like the soldier walk where you walk and you kick your leg up, activating those hamstrings, but also getting them to stretch. Typically you find to get a better response from the muscle than when you just do an isometric and touch your toes, because you're not really warming the muscle up like how you're about to use it. You're really warming it up in a pattern that you're not typically going to even use. So trying to do more active stretches when you warm up, or maybe like a small banded exercises, that would be my best recovery routine, or the best stretches that I would say to do, because they're really the most important one, and those are the ones we skip every single day essentially.
That's a great point. It's like the way if you look at a little kid, they have perfect posture. If they squat down, it's like an Olympic level weightlifter or something. They do everything anatomically perfect.
Everything.
Yeah, everything is perfect. That's a great point. You're right. What is it like working on people that the rest of us just see on TV? Say Heisman Trophy winner Joe Burrow. He just played in the Super Bowl for the Bengals. You know, I guess by now it's very blasé for you, but for the rest of us, it would be pretty cool working with people we see on TV.
When I first started my career, I've always wanted to play for the Bengals when I was a kid. Unfortunately, I'm too skinny and not agile enough, so I had to stick to something different. When I first started, I was real nervous and anxious, and it was exciting, and you kind of try to take in all the little moments, and like you're nervous when you're working on the person, and that was 5 years ago, now. So I end up working on these athletes, and sometimes you take for granted until somebody else kind of pokes you, and they're like, "Hey, that's really cool that you're working on that guy." And you're like, I guess that is something I should, take a second to appreciate, because sometimes you're just like, oh yeah, another Bengals guy called me, and you say it kind of nonchalant, and people are, kind of blown away by it. And I still am blown away when I sit back and kind of, reminisce and think about it. It's crazy to see how many athletes I've worked on, and I can turn on about any sport and know an athlete that I've worked on. It's something that now, it's kind of laissez-faire-ish, but when you work with somebody like Joe Burrow or somebody like a higher caliber, you still kind of get those little instincts where you're like, oh man, don't mess this up, don't do anything you shouldn't do. But other than that, every now and then you get that. But it's kind of became a moment that I have to have somebody else kind of poke me and
pinch yourself
back up to read.
I interviewed this NFL linebacker, and it's funny when he said he gained like 40 pounds of muscle in high school, and like freakish stuff like that, right? That these people are superhuman, basically. So this has crossed my mind. When you're working on them, do they have like superhuman recoverability, let's say, compared to working on a regular person? Is that another difference that sets them apart from regular people?
They recover in a faster sense, I guess. For example, if I cup myself, it might take 5 to 7 days for the cups to go away. Pro athlete, 2 to 3 days, but their body's just rapidly recovering. So they're the most healthy, fit, active individuals that we can pretty much think of. Their bodies are fine-tuned machines at this point. So anytime that you're kind of stimulating the tissue or the muscle, they're getting all the proper nutrition, the proper water, the proper intake, the proper stretching. Typically, if they're getting massage work already, they're getting good stimulation there. The body and adapts very quickly to whatever it's typically doing. So they unfairly recover typically a lot faster than what us normal individuals do. Normal individuals also recover at different rates as well. And I see some people that are recover fast and other people that don't.
Okay, gotcha. Nice. So, I mean, you're based in Ohio. So I guess people in the surrounding areas can get to you, obviously.
Yeah.
And for the people on the show, I mean, some people travel to see people like Zach. I've heard of this stuff. They literally jump on a plane because, look at it this way. I've done this with people. When I found somebody like you, I will say, hey, go see this person. If it's not incredible, I will refund you the money. Because when you try to describe to people how good what you do is, they understand it intellectually, but they just don't get it sometimes, you know? So I think I got one person to go to you. It's really hard to convince people sometimes, I find. So yeah, I've heard all these stories, people jump on a plane to see somebody like you. Yeah. Do you have any people like that, or if you personally run into that?
Yeah, I do. I have quite a few clients that, like Kavari Russell, for example. He comes in like usually once a month, and then he'll stop in and make sure he sees me. I've got a guy that lives over in Washington, D.C. He comes up every about 2-3 months and he tries to get in to see me. I had a lady drive from Pennsylvania a few months ago to come see me.
Oh wow. So Pennsylvania, just to give context to people.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty
so it took her, I think, 6 hours to drive. Damn. So I've had it quite a bit, and then people will move away. I have a lady in California. She moved away and she comes back and she visits her mom, and she makes sure to stop by and see me. Now she makes sure that she adds that into her trip every time she comes home.
Those stories are a great example of how good what you offer is, because I think it's common sense that if somebody's jumping on a plane to go see family and then they're making a detour or a side trip to see the massage therapist, that massage therapist must be quite incredible. Yeah, you did some amazing work on me for sure. For sure.
I'll have to get back down there sometime.
Yes, please do. That would be awesome. All right, guys, that is what it's like when you're talking to a professional. This gentleman is working on people who make millions of dollars a year. If this person is trusted to touch those people, he's definitely should be trusted to touch you, right? So I can't emphasize enough, do not go the cheap route with this stuff. And then secondly, you should try this. Even if you don't feel something wrong, I would be shocked if you have somebody like this work on you for an hour. Afterwards, you don't feel amazing. I've never run into anybody who said, you know what, that wasn't worth the money. Not even one time. Not even one time. They can literally turn the clock back in time. For those of you like myself over the age of 40, or even if you're in your 30s, these people are miracle workers. They can do some amazing things, just amazing things. Cannot emphasize this enough. This can literally help you gain muscle, right? And weight loss. Or if you hurt yourself, they can have you train around the injury without it getting worse. I did that when I was going from fat to fit. I hurt myself, right? And I had somebody like that working on me so I could keep. He said it to me, like, we can treat you two ways. One, like an athlete that's off season, we just shut you down, or I can treat you like an in-season athlete and work on you while you keep transforming. It will take longer and it will be more painful, but you'll be able to work out. So I went with that option, right? I didn't want to lose my momentum. So I kept doing that and it worked brilliantly. Again, as he gave the example with your chest, if you can stretch the muscles more to flex, right? You're going to build more, right? And this works for women as well. It's not just a guy thing. If you're not activating everything, then you're not maximizing all that blood, sweat, and tears in the gym, right? You're just not. Unless you've been doing this stuff regularly, I mean, having your body work done, you'll probably have years of stuff building up. And that's why it felt so great that first time I had a really great massage, because it was years of gunk building up, all this stiffness and everything just got released, right? So I am so sure that if you guys utilize somebody like Zach, you know, if you're in that area, highly recommend you go there. I'd be shocked if you didn't think he was worth every penny. You can't put a price on your physical comfort, not being in pain, performing well in the gym, probably help you in bed, just saying. Yeah, I think it was a great show. Hope you guys liked it. Again, I learned a lot. And thanks for showing up. Love the comments. Great questions. Have a great night, guys. Later's my massive. Mega long now. Because you are determined to transform your body, you made it to the end of this video. To get more tips about how to look great and feel even better, check out one of these videos you see on the screen. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. So later's my massive. Mega long now. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that's goodbye, my people.